time it is. It's time for Felicia and I to talk to you about some topic that has to do with health, something that is in or on the minds of people. We try to keep it relatable, try to talk about something that people are actually is going to bring value to people. So last week we talked about something, hey Nadine, we talked about hormones, and specifically we were trying to keep it around breast health to start because Felicia was doing a 5-day breast health, but really just hormone educational series. And so we just started talking about that last week. She was questioning me, hey Edith, about what my personal experience has been, and then kind of challenged me to check out the content myself, which I did. I thought she did a great job. So thank you for posting that last week.
That was fun. Welcome.
Yeah, you could tell you put a lot of research into it and a lot of energy.
It's hard to I'm like, how do you keep this stuff condensed? I don't know. I need help with that. But I think that's why when you're on Instagram or something like that, and that's why being able to consume content is so different from, what we would have thought before having social media, being able to just give people chunks versus books.
Right. But when it comes to something like this, it's really more than just a little. Am I slipping?
But for me, maybe it was.
Am I going away? Yeah, I could see on my.
You're fine.
My back.
That's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. So, I was thinking you could talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you took away, not so much from I could talk about what I took away from it as far as what I learned, but I thought you could tell us what you learned from the feedback and what people were saying in the group too.
Yeah.
Or was some of
that is always interesting. It's because so many people have struggles, and so trying to figure out, and also when people some people come straight to you, because I don't know, I think they're like, hey, I need your attention or whatever. So they'll message you, and it's pretty much the same thing. We have to be our own advocate, and we have to figure this stuff out. We're going to change and age. We've been taught that once you hit, menopause, perimenopause, oh, you're done, your reproductive system is done. Okay, but we're still here. So we have to get out of that mindset that, oh, I'm done. So many women would say, oh, I'm done. I'm in menopause. Do you know that that's your brain health, your heart health, the whole cognitive function for your brain, more than just, oh, I can't lose weight. It means so many other things. And I didn't even go deep into that. But the more I learn, that's the more I understand that this is about, and they don't have a ton of what to do. Women, people don't live as long. You have, Bible times when people lived a lot of years. And then you have now that people don't, but they had that sink in there, where men only lived until their 60s. And so people kind of compare to that. And it's so we don't have a lot of experience in what to do afterwards. Oh, she can't make babies no more? Put her over there. We live longer now. And so we're well, what do we do with that? We can't do what they did in Bible times. We can't do that. So it's what do we do? They live longer, So part of it is figuring it out for yourself with the help of specialists who are working with other women, and then also being clear. I just gotten a little, not a smackdown, but a little issue with someone because they were well, you have to trust your doctor and go to them first and all this stuff. And I was I get all of that, but are you for real? You have to be your own advocate, and your doctor might not be the one that's going to help you. We need to understand that. You got doctors still telling people you don't need to check your hormones. Women in their 30s having issues. Oh, you're too young. She's got the symptoms. Do something. You know what I mean? So we have to know that. There's too much information out there now. that we can know that. You cannot just be like, well, my doctor said. I like cringe when people say that. And I'm not against doctors, you know that. But come on now. You have to be your own advocate and really see, okay, where am I getting help? Okay, my doctor is still doing the same thing that he did with my mama. Where I grew up, there were people that were going to the same doctor that their mom went to. If you're getting great results, good for you. But if you're not, do you think you might need to think outside the box a little? And I'm just saying, my whole deal is just to bring awareness. I'm not a practitioner. I can't prescribe or do any of that. But it's to bring awareness that, no, there's more that you can do and you need to figure it out. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's so true about the fact that things are the same. I just talked to someone who I had never seen since I saw them 12 years ago. I met them, and I didn't have my daughter yet. We were just kind of reminiscing, and so I was thinking, 12 years ago, what I was told is like there's zero difference, and I'm sure there's 20 and 25 and 30 years ago. It's the standard is don't have a period. That's the standard. Like, it's inconvenient for, I just talked to a girl she's just newly married, and that was, you don't want to have periods. It's inconvenient for you. If you don't want to have a baby, let's just completely make you not have periods. And she had mentioned that she was having side effects from the birth control, but that at least she had the desired effect of no periods. But to me, I remember that the same thing for me. Like, I didn't want to have periods if I didn't have to. I didn't really feel like that was, if you're not, I think the thought that if you're not planning on having a baby, then you don't need to have a period. So go ahead and shut that whole part of your body down. That is totally mainstream, like accepted. And there's lots and lots of information and lots of research studies, and like there's data all over the place to show otherwise, but it's just not being taught. It's just not being talked about. Which is,
when I hear women that are like, some of these younger women just said that she tracks her and she probably was forced into it. We haven't talked yet, forced into doing it because of symptoms. Some people have been forced because their symptoms are so crazy, or with trying birth control, that they've had to figure something else out. Whereas other people, they suffer through it. I know someone that we talked about that last week. She's early 30s, and like, every time I try to come off it, it is horrendous. And I haven't had my period since I was 17. So you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like your vital sign. That's like one of our vital signs that's showing you what's going on with your body, and just shutting it down. No, we're going to pay. You're going to pay for that. And people don't realize that they're paying, because they're like, oh no, my mother-in-law or my mom is in menopause. She did fine. Oh, but is she? Is she doing fine? How's her brain health? How's her heart health? You haven't connected that up, because she doesn't have a period anymore and she doesn't cramp, but she's paying in another way. And we can do more about that and do the best we can, let alone, like you said, you guys were motivated to be like, get rid of those periods, because you felt terrible with them. I didn't. So it wasn't like I was, save your period. I had no connection with any of that. I had no clue, to be honest, which is sad that I was that silly, that when the doctor is like asking me when, and I'm like trying to figure it out, because it was so uneventful for me. I didn't have issues. So I'm like, okay, maybe it was last week. Like, nothing connected up for me. And no doctor said, can you get serious about this? They never told me that. So I never connected it. And so I wasn't one that was like, if I could do it. Was an inconvenience, because the physiology of it is. But it didn't hurt me, or I didn't have weird, crazy PMS. But I get people who do, why they are like, can I just be rid of it?
Yep.
You get that.
Yep.
She can never have kids because of PCOS. She changed her diet and now has a healthy.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh.
Absolutely. And that was another good takeaway for me from the 5 days, was the gut health. And it's nutrition and it's gut health. And then we always come back to that. I mean, I just did on Friday, we did a Q&A in my private group about allergies and about, seasonal allergies, and everything, so many things we don't want to connect it back. But there's a quote from Jim Rohn that says that you're going to suffer from one of two pains, either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. So yeah, he said the pain of discipline it's very light. It's not a heavy pain. The pain of regret, it lasts so much longer and it's really heavy. So
That's so true, Jess. I think about that when I struggle to get my sleep right, and I think, how would I feel if I did? I don't feel terrible as it is, and so, but when I struggle to do it, it's painful for me because it's out of my norm. Like, but it, what the benefits that I can get from it as I'm aging, as I'm, fooling myself into, if you're thinking, oh, I'm not having any problems with menopause. There's people who still have night sweats and all the things that are associated with it, but they're not connecting up. Like I said, the heart health, or the fact that they act a fool sometimes, that they can't remember anything without a list. We want to have lists, but if you're like looking at it 10 times and you can't remember, that's cognitive dysfunction. So,
right. And just with that whole discipline thing, when you talked about nutrition, you talked about the gut health and how we don't always connect them, or you're talking about phytoestrogens and xenoestrogens, and being really cautious and careful and like just paying attention. That's another big takeaway. I got my Flow, app and everything, paying attention and not just being so to like la la la, my life is going on around la la la. We have to actually pay attention and take things. It's not like we have to be. Am I freezing up?
No, I'm just looking at what Nadine is saying. Go ahead.
I was like, man, I'm not freezing up again.
Sorry.
No, we can talk about Nadine. Just if we don't pay attention, we are going to, like you said, we're going to pay. And we don't realize, and the other thing is your kids, this goes in generational. It's you affect your offspring with this.
Literally, I think when you think about that, those of you that are having babies and you're not in this time, some of your stuff is dysregulated in their 20s. How do you think you're going to do in your 50s if your stuff is already, just because of our health and genetics, all these things that you can dive into, if you don't have those pillars set up, and things that may affect those pillars as far as your stress, your sleep, your gut, getting rid of toxins, all things that we always talk about. Before you even decide, your stuff can be so out of control that you're like, I need a specialist now, which that can be scary too. They can be throwing all kinds of stuff at you that you're like, what? And thousands of dollars later, you're like, I don't even know if I feel better. So getting quiet and listening to yourself and figuring out those things is key, I think. And watching and getting educated. And there's so much out there. We have no excuse not to know more.
We don't. And like what Nadine's saying is like, it is amazing how 15, 25 years you're doing this, and what the gains and the changes you can make in 3 months. When you flip it and you start doing the right things, your body will respond. Your body's like, I want to do this. I'm tired. All of that was just like, you've been holding me back all this time. Let me do the things that I'm supposed to do. Maybe you'll be amazed. Like you said, you're going to get your Marina taken out. Once you get that taken out and you start applying some of the things that you learned, you're going to be amazed. I had a Marina, which they don't tell you. You're supposed to have it for 5 years. I was not told that. So I got it, and then I didn't want it anymore. I'm like, I want this taken out. They're like, well, insurance doesn't cover that.
Are you serious?
Nope.
That's the other thing, a list. And I
5 years, they won't pay to take it out unless you keep it in the whole 5 years.
That's interesting. I wanted to talk with you, and we didn't have time And I have some lists that I've gotten on what to say to my doctor. And I was like, okay, Felicia, where are you fitting this? Where are you going to fit this? So I'm going to have to let it come out in a little bit at a time or something. But questions that you need to ask, because we're not educated that way. We're just like, oh, well, my doctor said, or you have people who don't think they need a doctor, so they don't go at all. You can't do that. We need doctors, and we need health experts, and we need to read the literature and learn studies. I don't even like studies. I like listening to people who talk about the studies. I like listening to Jessica. Do it however you can do it. I said that in one of the days, that if you think, they got to have a bunch of letters behind their name and they can throw all the science around, then fine, go listen to somebody like that. There is someone out there like that you can trust. Someone who, like me, is just going through it and wanting to share, all the way to someone like Jess, who's kind of in both. She's a medical practitioner. She went to school, did all the things, and now she knows the more natural side. I mean, there's A to Z out there. You have no excuse to not, and follow someone that like, and trust. So that means you got to get out there. It's worth it. Get out there and find out who can you listen to, and no one is going to be 100%. Oh, everything they say is the gospel, but they can help educate you. Why not?
Right. Be very careful with any medical provider who tells you this is your only option, because that is usually a red flag. If you're talking to someone, whether it's chronic kidney issues, diabetes, blood pressure, whatever the case may be, with me, it was endometriosis. And they were like, these are your two options: hysterectomy, the Lupron, chemical menopause, or neither one, none of the options were acceptable to me. So I decided there has to be another option. There has to be. So when people tell you there are only these options, then that's, to me, a red flag. You have to say, what else can I do? Is there anything that I can do naturally? A good practitioner, a good medical provider will say, you know what? Do some research and come back and let's meet back up. There are always good providers like that will say, let's give it a month. You go and see what you can find. Bring it back to me, and let's talk about it.
Well, how smart is that? If you're a doc, they're busy. If they're a traditional practice, they got to work with insurance. They got some stuff to be dealing with.
No time.
And if you're out there bringing back the books and bringing back the stuff, well, why not? I work with a health coach now that's exactly what happened. And it was, I think I said this before, it was Suzanne Summers. And she was like, I'm not going to read Suzanne Summers' book. That's Chrissy from Three's Company. And then her husband said, well, and Chrissy was a Playboy bunny too. She was like, I know. And then she thought, but the person who shared this with me looks amazing. And it was one of her patients. Yep. She got to reading, and it was Chrissy using her celebrity to get the information out. And I remember when she was doing that, but I was way younger. So my brain wasn't there. I remember her being on TV and doing things and talking about, California stuff of using, and so she went back to school to learn the functional way. So she's a medical doctor and learned the functional way. That's how serious she took it. So the information is out there. And if you have to have a doctor, they're out there. And they're on time. You're not going to drive down the street, you maybe, depending on where you live, and pull up somewhere and wait for an hour and then put your little gown on and sit there with your butt hanging out, waiting on them to come so they can sit there for 15 minutes and tell you, you are fine. You don't worry your pretty little head. You're only 38. It's not menopause, so carry on. Now, we can get you some antidepressants because I really think you need that. Y'all don't have to go for that. There are people, there's something called telemedicine. You can go right in your home, if that's what you want to do, and talk to the people There are ladies, you just haven't been paying attention to it because it wasn't your deal. There are people in your town that can help probably, but you got to look for them.
Yeah. And back to the discipline, once you really start to figure out that if you employ the disciplines of nutrition and of being aware and just paying attention and not taking things in, not adding to the toxic load, trying to get rid of some of what you've already filled your bucket, like you said, your bucket. See if you can let some of that out of that bucket. Don't put any more in, for goodness sakes. Don't put any more in. And then see what else you can, like that. Everything is going to get better. That's what's so amazing is like when you go to the doctor and you're told this is what you need to do for A, B, and C. When you start looking at your whole health and your nutrition and everything, this hormones, everything else is going to get better. So yes, it's not easy. That's kind of my takeaway too. There's no easy way. It's not going to be easy. Like you said, you started talking about sleep, and then you were talking about caffeine and alcohol and stuff that you personally are like, I'm not doing all this stuff right either. But nobody is. But if it was that easy, everybody be walking around looking like, if it was easy, nobody would be complaining. But it's not easy, and that's why people don't want to do it. But it's so
no. Yep. And we haven't been trained. So the fact that we know that, there is a better, if you've been told there's nothing you can do and all we do, you got a headache, here's a pill. Your period isn't right, here's a pill. Like everything is thrown, you just get a pill thrown at you. Or, exercise, or, you're not moving enough. And it's like, do you know how many women are moving a ton? They need to sit down somewhere because their cortisol is all messed up. They're like running marathons and like, I can't figure out. It's like, you need to sit down. And you're done. You're too old for that. And I'm saying that in a different way because we're not too old for it, but your body can't handle the same stress. So you need to, you need to lift some weight, lift some heavy things is what you need to do. That is huge for us versus all that cardio.
Yep. And you need to breathe and you need to relax.
I'm learning, I'm getting I haven't told you this. I'm getting an HRV heart rate variability like tracker thing that I have to get. And aren't you proud of me? Because I don't be doing that breathing stuff. So I'm learning.
So you're gonna do some like biofeedback, and you're gonna extend your exhalation, and you're gonna be like, wow, I totally my heart rate variability.
I was like, Jess is gonna love it. It's called Elite HRV. Have you used it?
Okay, nope. Mm-mm.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to be using, and you've been telling me. So when they said it out, it's so when people say, well, what did it for you? I'm like, it's a combination of things. Jess has been telling me, and now they come along, and I'm going to say, Jess been telling me this. So it's always, that's why you have to learn, and depending on where you are in life, some things you'll pay attention to more so, but be a learner and do not let yourself get overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed is a choice, and I have with us selling the house. I was thinking, this is terrible. Like, where am I going to put all this stuff? I was so overwhelmed. I came upstairs and was thinking about it. I hadn't said much to Jacoby, but he's such a good kid. I went downstairs and he had cleared out the whole basement, cleared everything out, and I was like, and it took it away like that. And I was like, so you got to just move. Now he did it for me. I'm going to admit that. But if I had just gotten started instead of just being like, so when he did that, it was on. Then we cleared. I mean, it was on just by seeing that. And it was just the basement, and we have the foundation ledge there had pictures of all the family. And I was like, all this stuff has to go. And he got rid of all of it. And, he was down there vacuuming. He was like, Mom, check it out. And I was like.
And he didn't do it. He didn't just throw it. He did it right. He wasn't just throwing stuff around.
No. And we had to, put it in the storage room because that's where you expect stuff. But you need to just clear stuff out. Mm-hmm. And then I got started. Then I was clearing stuff out everywhere. He was like, Mom, you cannot throw everything away. I was like, I'm not going to throw it away. Yeah. But so we can't allow ourselves. So focus on something, right? Whether it's, I'm going to focus on my gut, or I'm just going to focus on my sleep. Do whatever it is you need to do to stay in the game. Do not be overwhelmed, because if one thing about when you start researching, this expert will say, I don't do this, and this one will say, do that. I mean, you'll go up, down, and all around with that. So you got to figure out, and you got to be okay with testing some things. If you're in a really, really bad way, testing something out, I don't know that it's going to make you 10 times worse. I mean, take the time and test some things out and decide whether you want to go down the route of finding a specialist and keep people on your radar. That's what I did. I just started I only started really getting into this when I started fasting and eating high fat, low carb, keto, however you want to look at it. Then perimenopause hit me on the shoulder, tapped me and was like, hey, I'm over here, girl. I got you. And I was like, what is this? Who is in this body? And so I had to figure stuff out because stuff is different. And I feel good. I can't imagine people that are like struggling and all of that. So start paying attention so that you can learn this stuff as you're going through it or before. I'm thinking, I'm 50. So you got, like I said, there's women in their 20s and 30s. If you have any gut issue, and then when they go and look and you got SIBO, IBS, and leaky gut, all that stuff, that all affects your hormones.
No, the gut is so huge. And that's why it's got to be in the forefront right now. And when I said it's not easy, I want to kind of take that back. We're going to do some habit. Like we're either, like when we say we're doing something, we're keeping some kind of habit, whether it's picking up our smartphone, having it by the bed, staying up all night. There was someone I said, who was it that said, I have the key to stopping smoking. And it is like it is foolproof for people that have such a hard time stopping smoking. Like the next time you want to have a cigarette, to smoke, you have to take it out of the package. You have to light it. You have to put it to your mouth. You have to breathe in. He's like, any one of those things, just don't do it. He was like, I guarantee you will stop. He said, you could pick whichever one, any of those things. So you think about, he said, you have to go buy them. You have to go to the store and buy them. You have to bring them back home. You have, you got to take it out of the package. He's like, anything, you could pick which one, you just don't do it. Just don't you can take it out and you could but just don't pick it up. And so I was just thinking about like all of our bad habits, sugar, maybe it's like anywhere along that line. Just if you just cut, just don't do it. Just make one thing a day. We're doing these processes. We have all of these, habits and routines in place, even if they're bad ones. Putting the snooze button, whatever the pattern is, we have it. Yeah. We're doing it. But it's really not like it's hard to do the right thing. It's just we have to switch over.
It's just mind up to do it. Yeah, your mind over and
something right now. You're spending your whole day doing something.
Yeah,
it's just not the thing that you want to do.
Isn't that's so true? All you got to do is don't do it.
Yep. Like the next time, if you have such a hard time with sugar, okay, so just when you have to pick the spoon up, you have to pick it up all the way up.
You had to buy it, put it in your house,
right?
Like
that's the thing. Like you have to buy it, and it's like when you're there, like how about
kids? Whatever you do.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me buy some hemp seeds instead. Let me try those. Let me try. Like what else can I try? Get curious. I love when you said Overwhelm, because you don't stay in Overwhelm. That's not somewhere you stay very often. But for me, that's a place I visit a lot.
You're like, I got an apartment there. Like I said, this is an extra part. You like, I have apartment. You got an apartment in Overwhelm. You go stay there sometime.
I have a punch card and they gave me. But choose curiosity, choose opportunity. Like the only reason you're overwhelmed is because you have so much wonderful things, like all these things. So then you get to be like, do I keep them? Do I bless somebody with it? Do I,
totally shifted. One thing that's come out of it, and this has nothing to do with anything, but I'm super proud of it. Jesse, we have his parents' furniture, and I want to say it's over 50 years old, and we drag it from place to place, and I'm like, we should get something done with it. Did I tell you this? I may have already said it.
I've never heard this.
And so it's it's the big armoire and the big long dresser and all this stuff. And so when last time I was in Oklahoma, a business came up through my feed. And I had gotten it checked out before, and they said it was going to cost $3,800 to get it fixed. And that was kind of a low estimate. And I was like, do we really want it? Or should we just get really nice new furniture? Because it's really good wood.
Right.
It's just been moved a lot and Yeah. So so anyway, $3,800, and it just kind of sat. I found that out here and didn't do anything with it. Jesse didn't really say no. Yes, he was just like, I don't know. So we're like, maybe we should get, try to figure it out. Come to find this person, a third of the cost, and they're painting it, they're doing it all. And it's like, so now I'm able to really enjoy the piece instead of just us dragging it around because it's art. So
I love that. That makes me think of my mom's stuff, because I have some of her pieces and I'm like, I don't want to get rid of it, but then at the same time, it would be cool to refinish it, or just have kind of something with it on it, and not do something with it in the new spot. But yeah, we have so many opportunities. Like you look at other countries, they don't get to try, let me see which supplement, and if I'm going to try to supplement my liver.
Yeah, we're going to let that be a negative thing. We're going to let it be a negative thing instead of letting it be like, you know what, I get to choose. So I'm going to choose this, like pick something and go with it. And if that area is like, I can't even go there now, pick another, there's pillars to work on. You know what I mean? Just focus on your sleep. Just focus on bedtime and getting up, getting out and getting sun. I mean, we've talked about so many things. Pick one, get that into your routine, assess how you feel. Mm-hmm. Figure out the food that you eat now. What is it doing for you? Mm-hmm. Are you, so-called healthy, but you're like always, full of gas and bloating? You might need to rethink what you're eating. I don't care what it is. Mm-hmm. So there's lots to work on, and look at that as a positive instead of getting overwhelmed.
Yes. Okay. Anyone in the comments, put what your favorite takeaway was from what you learned with Felicia last week. I had another one I was going to say. One of the things I really liked was the whole, this is normal about periods, sore breasts, cramps, mood swings, all of the things being normal, and just accepting it and not thinking that there's anything you can do, because literally there is, apart from back in the day there was Midol. Well, yeah, there's still, and another thing that I've seen, I remember when I was working in neurology, a couple of the girls in the office would be like, hey, do you have one of those, do you have a pill, do you have a water pill? They were bloated, so they would take these diuretics, and they would say, oh, do you have an extra one? I'm extra bloated today. And it was just kind of like, yeah, here, take it.
Wow.
And it's like, why are you retaining water?
Mm-hmm.
So that was one.
Never connecting it up, because even when, like, before I put on weight, later in life, and I was thin, but I would always be puffy. Like I always dealt with, I could gain up to 10 pounds of water weight before my period. It's like, why is that? Like, you can, knowing that, number one, even putting it together, that had something, like I had no knowledge of any of that, right? Because I was in pain, and it just was like, I'm a puffy person, I got big cheeks, I didn't know. And now as I'm like, that is not right. It should not be that. And of course it got out of control when the insulin part comes in. The other thing that we have to remember, and people get caught up in, should I do keto or this, or I'm vegan, or all that stuff. Do whatever you want to do, but you have to remember that as a woman, as you age and that estrogen lowers, you're going to have a harder time with carbs. You are. So what you could get away with in your 20s and your 30s, you're like, oh, but it's quinoa. You're going to have a harder time. So you're going to need to pull back. How much you pull back, that's your business. But do not think, there is an actual reason behind it. It's not that, oh, keto's popular. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with that when it's time for the ovaries to shut down and your adrenals to start taking over, you have less estrogen. So that's what helps with our insulin sensitivity. Mm-hmm. So you become a form of insulin resistant. And some of us have already been in our 20s or our 30s or our 40s. And then even more so. So wherever you are, say yours was great, it's dropping when you get to that. And that's just part of it. That's not to be like, oh, that's part of what's going on. Like, face it.
Right. I've definitely noticed since I turned 40, just completely different. The way that I can what I can tolerate, how I respond to different things that I take into my body, completely changed. And so that's just that part of it is to be expected. Like, as we age, things change. That part is true.
Yeah.
But we don't have to have like a terrible time with it. There's ways to help manage and support.
Understand that, like you're saying, understand that that's what's happening.
Right.
Remember life, you're young and you're stupid. You don't know what's going on. Your body is amazing and you don't think it is.
Right.
You're going through all of that. And why am I like this? Why? And then wisdom comes along and the body is kind of breaking down. So use that wisdom and understand that I can't do what I used to do. And don't look at it as, oh, that's terrible, because we have so much to bring to the table. Let's just work with these rules. Probably isn't the best word. That's what I said in the series, but whatever you want to call it, this new shift or whatever, let's work with it, because women are living longer. We are able to, people are doing some amazing things in that area of their life because they have this, like that frontal lobe, everything. And we want to keep it that way and not have it, when more women get Alzheimer's. I mean, there's just a lot going on with studies and the connection with the different hormones, that the fact that, progesterone and estrogen are low, or estrogen dominance for some people, for a lot of people. So wait till you get over 50 and plus.
I know. I thought Deanna. I'm like, Deanna, why are you trying to do that to me?
I am over. And I'm trying to go down swinging, like I always said.
I got Felicia, so I'm going to be all right. Hey, what were you saying? Yeah, it was like 5 years ago. You said, can you remind me of all that again? No.
Yeah, it's funny when you're in it. It's funny when you're in it and you're like, wow, this is interesting. There's nothing like it. And so many women, that's why they do the work that they do to help people, is because they were like, I was there and my doctor was telling me I was crazy. Or I was there and my doctor would not test my hormones and said, we don't do that. We don't need to look at that. Or they kept telling me they test my hormones and everything was fine. And then I find out I need this whole other panel done. So she says, Nate, I'm grateful to be getting off the Marina based on learning about my hormones. So you've made that. Oh, that's awesome, Nadine. I think I remember working with the secretary and I was super young and she was probably in her 40s and I was 22, 23. I didn't have a clue about life. And she was telling me that she had gotten her second or third IUD stuck. Ooh. And I remember thinking, so that's what y'all do? Like, I was so confused. I'm like, they just get stuck?
They can get embedded in the tissue. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, and it's your second or your third? Like, one time getting stuck don't stop you? I was like, man, the torturous stuff that we go through, you know what I mean? In the name of being a woman and trying to handle, the children. And it's like, that people in other countries that are behind, they actually are able to, ones that manage their having children, like they do it without all these chemicals.
They figured it out. Yeah, they figured it out. Like, oh, it can only happen once a month. Okay. Yeah. We got the rest of the month. We're okay. I mean, like, we can figure this out.
Yep. And I'm good. I'm glad to see that some younger girls are doing that. I had no clue. Yeah. And I'm just like, wow. Okay. Yes, that's good.
You thought she was old, huh? When you were in your 20s and she was 40, you're like, oh, she's old.
I didn't even know what to think. I just was like creeped out. I was like, you do it 2 or 3 times. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I had a child at a young age. I was like, it's not that bad. Right. And she had one son, and I was just like, oh man, because I didn't know of such a thing. I wasn't going down the path of having an IUD or knowing anything about it.
Well, I definitely want to be prepared because genetics play a role. And if I'm anything like my mom, it was bad. I mean, she was like, she turned into an ogre. I think I told her she tried to kick me out twice.
Yeah, yeah.
And
you said, and I think you've said this publicly, people knew your mom before and after. So it was nice to hear the memories because people knew who she was before that changed her. Right. and all of that. And it's always different when you're the caretaker, I get all of that. But the fact that it like people knew and that was refreshing to you, it's like, oh yeah, that was how she was before, it all kind of took over.
The menopause was a special part. Like she had a lot of things that came back from her childhood, and as she aged, that all came up, and then it really did a number on her. But specifically menopause, and I would say, let's see, she had me when she was 30. I was probably 23, so I'm going to say she's like 53. She's about 53. And I was living at home, but going to nursing school, and literally, like one day, she was just like, "Get out." I was like, "Huh?" She was like, I don't want you here anymore. You can go find somewhere else to live." I'm like, "What? I didn't even do anything." I went and I just locked myself in my room. I was like, "I'm gonna ride this one out because I don't have anywhere to go." And
I'm ready to go. I'm staying right here.
I knew that in the morning she would not. In the morning she's like, "Good morning." She had breakfast for me. I was like, yeah. And then she would just get mad. So I was like, okay, if that is what it can happen to me, I got to get ready because I can't be.
How old were you with when you had Wesley?
I was 34.
34. Okay, so you were a little older. So she definitely will be around and home.
Oh no, she might be gone. Well, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah. She'll be around. She gonna be in.
I'll put a bug in her ear. Well, you got the other thing too is you have your mother-in-law, which is really helpful because she has such a good outlook on life, and you know what I mean. So she's positive, and that's such a life has been different for her. So that'll help.
And she has a lot of patience with me. She just, she's always like, you're such a good mom. You're such
that's awesome.
a good wife. And I'm like, keep telling me that. You live here and you're still saying that? Okay. Like,
you're like, this is good. This is good. This is good.
I'm still showing my best. Yeah. I haven't slipped up yet. The mask hasn't fallen.
Well, I think it's such a good thing because, of course, I know your mother-in-law has things that she deals with like everyone else, but she's healthier than your mom was at that. Are they close? Were they close in age?
No, they're about 10 years apart. So my mom was about 10 years older than my mother-in-law.
Okay.
So they're only 20 years apart, and my mom was 30 years older than me.
Okay. So they're in different lives. So as far as your mom dealt with a lot as far as her health, whereas your mother-in-law seems to be in a different place. So that's also helpful too.
Yeah. And she's like you. She's going down swinging. She's like, I'm doing proactive. What do I need to do? It's like,
yeah.
In the morning, I don't want to get up, and I'm like, no, move, get up and move. She's like, because I'm trying.
She's big on that. Yeah. So see, just a different outlook. It's so it's not. It's refreshing that you have that. So you take the best from both, which is how it should be. Mm-hmm. The best from your mom, and then being able to take the best from your husband's mom. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful thing. So what about your mom? Did she have any advice to give you about like this change?
I need to ask her about it recently. I haven't. Things are so different. My mom had a really hard life. So sometimes, DNA is strong because sometimes I walk past a mirror and I'm like, I thought my mama was here. I'm just like the woman. And so Jacoby will say, did you just say what I think you said? I was like, I know that sounds like my mama. It's so crazy. So I know that inside too. But yeah, so I'll have to, she would always talk about, girl, I'm flashing. Give me some of what you got. She would always say, but that was the biggest complaint. My grandmother, which, her generation didn't talk about that stuff, but no one has had anything removed. No one had really bad cycles. So when it comes to that, and the actual change, I'm going to ask my aunt again, because she talks about, I remember when some of her, I shouldn't say her friends, because I don't know anybody specifically, but when she was dealing with people around her that were going through things.
Right.
And she was like, I wonder, maybe I need something. I'm like, no, because she's very even keel. And she's like, she went to her doctor and he was like, no, you're fine. Now, you know, if they don't want to give you anything, he's like, well, everybody is doing so. I said, oh, you thought you was missing out, huh? She's like, well, I don't know. I just wonder. I said, you know, so and when I look at things that way, my outlook, you know, it looks good. That,
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I'm gonna have to ask him again. I haven't talked to him about it lately. They kept saying we go through it early, so I need to revisit with my aunt and say, when you said that, what did you mean?
Well,
because I don't even know what she meant.
Yeah.
But what's early to her?
Yeah. Right. How old was she?
Yeah.
All right.
So cool. Kind of cool.
Yes. Well, yes. I appreciate everything that you brought. I need to go back through. So if you didn't catch all 5 days of all of the information, I mean, like long, copious amounts of information that Felicia did. But it was really, really nice and really comprehensive. And then I like the fact that it's in written form because you can go back and, like, you know, you can take it line by line and take notes.
And it's going to stay there. We'll put the link in. It's not going anywhere. So you don't have to be in a hurry after you read one and you're like, oh my gosh, she got more stuff to say. You can come back later and read it's just 5 days.
Yeah. So, that's great. Thank you so much. I'm going to definitely tighten up. I've already started. Thank you guys for paying attention and watching with us. I hope that you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about hormones. So Shelly, we're going to post the link. If you have not been able to get into that group yet, she'll post the link so you can go ahead and join. And then once you're in, you're going to go under where it says the 5-day breast health challenge and up at the top. And then all of that information is in one spot. Okay, yes, Diana, we are going to post that link. You guys have a wonderful evening. And as always, we will see you next week.